thanking the Labour Party staff, the regional office as well as head office, for all the work they put together in organising these economic conferences all around the country. This is the first one, so we want everybody's feedback on it. We want this a model that works so that all our members and supporters can participate in our economic thinking and take the party forward. And so I want to thank all of our staff for the fantastic job they've done, as well as you for being here. The point of it all is the bringing together of the creativity that's there in all of us. So please put your hands together and thank all of our staff for the work they've done. I'd also say that throughout all the excitement of last year, the standout moment was 10,000 people in Liverpool on a wet afternoon. Showing the light and joy that's here in our party. And we as the Labour Party have got to work together to change what is a rigged system. John explained that this morning. An economy in which housing is an investment opportunity for a few. We're told that all the time. Whilst at the same time, homelessness is rising, and I think it's frankly immoral, absolutely immoral, that people should be sleeping on the streets of every city of this country. We can, must and will provide the housing for all. That has to be what we can only do that if we challenge the inequality that's here. An economy in which the richest chief executive now gets in 2 days, what it takes the average worker to earn in the whole year. That is, if they decided to work on New Year's Day, the chief executive would have got by Wednesday what somebody else would have to work until the end of this year to achieve. That cannot be sustainable or justified or by any stretch of the imagination fair. Also, an economy in which the north is neglected while London and the southeast get all the investment. John and Becky have given you the figures on that. We cannot go on with this level of inequality both between regions and between income levels within our society. We want an economy in which working lifts you out of poverty, but instead 6 million people in Britain earn less than the living wage. An economy in which women should be earning the same as men. The gender pay gap is 20%. It's wrong, it's got to be closed. We also want an economy in which investment in the National Health Service and social care is valued more highly than yet another tax break for the already wealthy. Because if we don't deal with the social care crisis, that feeds into the NHS crisis and every other crisis in every family in the whole country. A social care system that works for all and doesn't discard or neglect those who are in desperate need of the care we all want them to receive. That's what a caring society would do. That's not what Tory Britain does. So we want to create a society and an economy so that no one and no community is left behind. An economy based on fairness for all, strategic investment, and a government working for the many, not just the few. For too long, our economy has been based on property inflation and personal debt. You saw the graph that John showed this morning. Wages have fallen in real terms, and the government has failed in actual terms. It's failed to invest in our infrastructure, railways, energy system, the housing we need, or in our digital infrastructure. And their failure has left this country unprepared for leaving the European Union. As Liverpool fans, I know John McDonnell and Steve Rotherham don't like not being in Europe. I'm an Arsenal supporter. Though it seems Jurgen Klopp might have solved that problem for you. Oh, I knew that wasn't going to go down. The other piece of false news that's come out today is the result from Stamford Bridge, but let's leave that on one side. But on the political front, frankly, I've got a lot less faith in Theresa May and Boris Johnson. This week has been a tough one for Labour. I don't deny that. We campaigned for Remain. This Labour city voted Remain, but the North West overall and the country as a whole voted to leave. We have to respect the result of the referendum. But we must unite together to stop a reckless Tory Brexit turning this country into a bargain basement tax haven on the shores of Europe, with low wages, fewer rights at work, underinvestment in public services, and even more tax breaks for big business. We see the route the Tories want to take us, a trade deal with Donald Trump's America at any cost. This week, the Prime Minister refused to rule out the NHS, our country's greatest achievement, being offered up as a bargaining chip for private US healthcare companies to come in and take it over. We are not having that. She told me it wasn't for sale. But since 2010, her government, the Tory government, and the one that was supported by the Lib Dems for 5 years, has done exactly the opposite, outsourcing nearly £9 billion of NHS work to private companies. And in the US, Donald Trump has already started dismantling the progress that had been made on healthcare under President Obama. Our Prime Minister wants to rush a trade deal and rush to offer a state visit to a man who has torn up the International Agreement on Refugees, the 1951 Geneva Convention, threatened to scrap international agreements on climate change, praised the use of torture, and directly attacked women's rights. And he chose World Holocaust Memorial Day to ban Muslims from 7 countries from travelling to the United States. So, thank you, Liverpool. Thank you, Manchester. Thank you, London. Thank you, Cardiff. And towns and cities all across the UK who came together last week to stand up and give a different message of the kind of world and kind of society we want to live in. I sent a message to the demonstration in London today. We as a party helped to defeat apartheid, and will do the same to the kind of nasty doctrine that's being promoted, that you blame minorities, you ban people on the basis of their faith or something else. Doesn't bring about peace, doesn't bring about justice, doesn't bring about harmony. It's rights for all that bring peace, justice and harmony. We are the party of rights for all, human rights globally. We are meeting here in the Northwest. This is the first of our conferences on the economy, and they're travelling all around the country. And as you will have discussed and will have heard, it's local communities coming together that will change minds, change our society and change our economy. Liverpool is a city with a history steeped in resistance and resilience, still trying to protect its people and deliver prosperity. The Merseyside economy is growing faster than London and any other major British city. Liverpool is home to a bigger proportion of fast-growing firms than anywhere else in the UK, with reputation as a cutting-edge computer game development industry. And the new deep-water Liverpool 2 container terminal can see 95% of the world's largest ships, opening up faster supply chain transit for at least 60% of the existing UK container market. That's testament to the hard work of Labour councils, mayors and MPs. And this is the great work that my friend Steve Rotherham and Annie Burnham can build on when they're elected as our Metro mayors for Merseyside region and for Manchester in May. Get behind them and support them in the campaign, please. We also need to invest in a balanced energy economy, an energy mix to keep the lights on and to meet our climate change targets. I visited Copeland 2 weeks ago, was there twice, and I know how important the nuclear industry is and the skilled jobs it brings to the Cumbrian economy. The Tories are putting all that at risk, ignoring workers by pulling out of Euratom, the European Nuclear Research Agency, which will create instability at a time when assurances are needed. So Labour has tabled an amendment to the Article 50 bill to ensure that we safeguard jobs, scientific research and internationally agreed inspection standards. And while they're at it, this government should end their attacks on the pensions of Sellafield workers who are cleaning up the legacy of waste safely within our society. Don't attack their pensions. As we face Brexit, it's even more vital that firms in this region and this country remain outward-looking and innovative. It does create enormous challenges for us. It throws open questions about our own society. Will we continue to welcome the contribution made by those who come to our country? Will we hold to our shared values of social justice and human rights and act as a safe haven for those who are fleeing war and persecution elsewhere in the world? Brexit throws open questions that have been closed for decades. How will this country conduct its business with the rest of the world? How will we learn to trade and relate to others when we must make our own rules and forge our own deals depending on the agreement reached with Europe? We know what the Prime Minister's answer is. It is to threaten all our neighbours with becoming a tax haven. And it is, with a nod and a wink, to offer up our National Health Service to the highest bidders. Once I became Labour leader, we opposed the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, which was suspended due to opposition across Europe. That would have given investor protection, it would have damaged workers' and environment rights on both sides of the Atlantic. But the Tories would have signed up. We must offer the alternative. The future does not have to be backroom deals between giant corporations conniving to tear up our public services and slash wages. We can do much better than this. Labour has long known the importance of an open trading system for creating shared prosperity and decent jobs. In these uncertain times, Labour must offer the hope shared by the vast majority who want to see closer ties between the peoples of the world. We will build bridges, not protectionist walls or walls against neighbours. That's why we've introduced our Just Trading strategy, a new model for the 21st century. Open trade agreements that prioritise workers' rights and human rights and the highest standards of environmental protection. So you trade to improve at both ends of the trading deal. That's why we've laid down these protections as an amendment to the Article 50 bill. Theresa May has threatened our trading partners with a bonfire of regulations to turn the UK into a bargain basement tax haven. A Labour government will work in full cooperation with our trading partners to raise social and environmental standards across the board. As a society, we face a fork in the road. Two different directions that this country could travel in. Do we retreat, as the Tories and UKIP offer, behind walls and secret dodgy deals that only benefit the elite few? Or do we advance together, open to the world, redistributing wealth and power across our country so that no one and no community is left behind? I know which direction I want. I think I know what direction you want. I think I know what basically most people in this country want. They want decency and fairness. They don't want this grotesque level of inequality we have in our society at the present time. So we can't take back control from Brussels only to leave power in Westminster and the City of London. If you leave it to the Tories, power, wealth and opportunity still lie in the hands of the privileged few, not the many. It is because too many decisions are made by a tiny closed circle of people at the top. This isn't North versus South, it's people versus the establishment. Labour in government pioneered devolution. We devolved power to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. We set up regional development agencies across England that for each pound invested delivered £4.50 of economic activity. The Conservatives scrapped the regional development agencies and have devastated local councils and their budgets. Since 2010, the Tories will have cut funding to Liverpool by 340 million, and they've penciled in another 90 million over the next 3 years. That's a total budget cut of 67% for the great city of Liverpool. But the Tories are expecting councils to sort out the government's problems. Their answer to their cut of £4.6 billion, get that figure, 4.6 billion in social care, is to tell councils to raise the council tax. The figures simply don't add up. The people who pay the price are those desperate to be cared for and supported in social care. It's paid for by families. It's paid for by a crisis in the NHS. They didn't devolve power, they devolved austerity. The north-south divide in income, jobs and pay is increasing faster than ever. Last year, when 277,000 jobs were created in London, only 1,000 extra jobs materialised in the northwest. And that number fell by 40,000 in the northeast. And spending on transport is grotesquely weighed towards London. Last year, the government spent less than £300 per person on transport spending in the northwest. In London, it's nearly £2,000 per person, 6 times more. It's vital we have a crossrail for the north, an east-west link from Liverpool to Hull and on to Newcastle. A £9 billion commitment that John McDonnell, as the next Labour Chancellor, has today committed to. The corridor of northern cities, stretching from Liverpool and Preston in the west to York and Hull in the east, has an economic and skills catchment big enough to match or even exceed London. There's no reason why not with the right investment. The government is prioritising its own east-west link. That's the one between Oxford and Cambridge. The government should sort out its priorities and commit to build Crossrail for the north now. To unleash the economic potential across the north, we have to rebalance our economy to share power and resources. That's why our proposed National Investment Bank will be supported by a network of regional banks, publicly accountable and locally managed, with specialist knowledge for their areas. These regional banks will break the logjam in the British financial system by bringing closer to locality and by making decisions based on local needs. They will be able to deliver the capital that our current financial system cannot. Labour will not be devolving austerity, we'll be devolving investment. Unbalanced Britain is only becoming more unfair and unbalanced under the Tories, between the rich and the poor, between Westminster and our nations and regions. Labour will challenge that failure. We will redress that by fixing a rigged system that is failing the majority of people. Our mission in the 20th century was to redistribute wealth and reduce inequality. Our mission in the 21st century must be to build on by redistributing power, wealth and opportunity to every part of our nations and regions. That's Labour's will: develop a genuine industrial and regional strategy essential to invest in our economy so that no community is left behind. In post-Brexit Britain, it is vital that government gives the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Parliament, Metro Mayors, local authorities the powers and resources to not only innovate and generate prosperity, but also, crucially, to reduce inequality as part of their whole policy process. Brexit means we have to develop a long-term plan to build a fairer, more just Britain. So in 2 weeks' time, I'll be holding a summit with European socialist leaders, see how best we can work together to build economic and trading relationships for the benefit of the many. Links with our like-minded friends all across the continent, just as we reach out to friends all across the world, are very important to our party and our movement. It may surprise you to know that joining us at that summit will be the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry. We have a lot of common ground with them. As well as wanting tariff-free access to the single market, we both want rebalanced growth and investment across the UK, from fast-tracking infrastructure spending to building the essential transport and digital links to realise our potential. And we need to invest in skills, as Steve Rotherham pointed out this morning, not cut skills budgets, as the Tories have done. Last year, I told the CBI this would mean increasing corporation tax to pay for university grants and a new educational maintenance allowance, so that no talent is left behind due to the family's inability to pay or the individual student's desperate fear of debt. We want the talents of all, not the few. Many workers in Britain have not had a pay rise for years, and it's absolutely appalling. The average pay of a FTSE 100 chief executive has rocketed to £5 million, which, if you're quick at maths, you'll be ahead of me, but I can tell you is more than 130 times the average of a worker in this country. That's why we've introduced a minimum wage of at least £10 per hour by 2020, and are looking at the idea of pay ratios, because this injustice has got to be tackled. Britain also needs a transport system that works. When the last Labour government took the East Coast train line into public ownership, over 6 years, it developed a better service, improved passenger satisfaction, and a cheque of £1 billion in profit came back to the Treasury as profits for all of us to benefit from, not the few. So what did the Tories do? You'd have thought that's a great story. No. They re-privatised it. So if elected, let's be clear, when each rail franchise lapses, we will take them back into public ownership. To make housing about homes for the many. As I said earlier, under the Conservatives, homelessness has doubled. House building has fallen to the lowest level since the 1920s. And when we, Labour opposition, proposed that homes for rent should be fit for human habitation, not a very big request. Too much for the Tories? No, they voted that down. Just a simple idea that you could not put something on the market unless it was fit for human habitation was too much of a bureaucratic interference in the free market in the private rented sector. Sorry, we don't accept that. We're going to regulate the private rented sector. We will put decent, affordable homes at the heart of our programme. We'll build more genuinely affordable homes for rent and buy, give renters a new charter of rights, put an end to rough sleeping, and help young people on ordinary incomes buy a home of their own. Council housing has housed millions of people, taken them into a much better place than they would otherwise have been. We're going to put the money back into housing and the building of council housing by the next Labour government. Only Labour has an economic plan that will stimulate the economy and create employment. And finally, we will provide a long-term funding solution to our greatest achievement, the National Health Service, the most civilised thing about this country. And a Labour government would give social care the funding it needs too. These things are absolutely crucial. Thank you for all the work you've done on defending the National Health Service. As Nigel Van said, it will only last as long as there's folk around with the will to defend it. We're folk, we've got the will, and we will defend it. So, a Labour government will hand back wealth and control to people and communities across all our nations and regions. Our economic aims are our social aims as well. A Labour government will shrink the gap in income, wealth, and properly fund the NHS and social care to ensure the elderly and sick get the help they need. A Labour government will ensure that corporations and the richest pay their fair share of taxes. We will end the race to the bottom in the jobs market and guarantee education and employment rights for all. It's time for us to restore hope for this country, to show we can overturn a rigged system and hand power and wealth and opportunity to all people and all communities, to set out a radical and credible plan to create a fairer, more equal society. We built a party and a movement of more than 500,000 members, with millions of affiliated trade unions and supporters. Now more than ever, this country needs a Labour government and Labour metro mayors in our great cities. So let's go out on the doorstep together and make the case for that from now until election day. Let's build the economy we need to get the better society our people deserve. That is what the Labour Party was founded for. That is what we exist for. That is what motivates us. That is what unites us. Let's go together in unity to realise that dream of those that founded our movement, those that dreamt of a society where everyone was valued for the strength of their character, not their background or anything else. That is what socialism is about. That's what our purpose is about. That is what unites us and takes us together. Come together on that journey. Come together to elect a Labour government in Britain. Thank you very much.